Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and I've got turn 35, continuing to stay on top of this, at least for now. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So, as expected, a lot of fighting now with Xibalba joining the fray. I think as the Misfortune and Gaia events have been getting cleaned up, we've only got one battle outside of that conflict. So, let's go ahead and take a look. So we've got a Beryton priest with 2 bodyguards. Alright, survives that. And let's go ahead and dive into the combat. So in Spring Spires, we've got a Melkart raid into the Crystal Amazons province that used to belong to Marverni. And I keep hoping he will try and retake in all this chaos. I think Marverni, once they get gifts from heaven, is a nation that can bully Hinnom a bit. Giants definitely do not like gifts from heaven. Now, Body Ethereal can make that more difficult, but Marverni can also bring Soul Slay too. So I think it is a little bit of a unique nation that has a lot of counters for a lot of the things that Hinnom is generally trying to do. They can also do a lot of banishment for the National Long Dead and for the Mazics. So let's see. Xibalba comes in with a Sino raid. Let's see, and we've got a Crystal Mage. So we've got a Mage, we've got a Commander, and we've got a very affordable group of Sinos. I like this raid. It's not so much he'll be sad if it loses, but it's enough that it should kill most PD. And Kidzin does tend to run a little bit more PD, like 10 to 15 pretty regularly. So it's a good size raiding group for attacking Kidzin in particular. So loses 1, and yeah, this looks like I think 10 PD. Then in Fomoria, nope, wait. Is that the same raiding group twice? Okay, so I'm not hallucinating. All right. So it's pretty much the same raiding group. Taking out... Now this looks more like 6 PD. But... good size raiding group again. Very effective. Hinnom's going to move to try and free his cap. He's got a bird here. Lanka has left 2 mages here, though, including his prophet. I wonder if that was a mistake. It seems like a mistake. Alright. So Hinnom stays under siege, at least for now, in Jaburnia. So that's another turn of essentially dead Roughites. We've got a crew of Lancers. Pretty good raiding squad. Might be a little heavy, because, you know, probably like 7 or 8 is good enough to kill most PD. Maybe you could go up to 10, but anything extra is just extra casualties for a Melkart if they run into that. So this might be a little bit heavy for this particular war, but we'll see. Then Xibalba does indeed move on to Lanka's capital. So you can get a little bit better idea of the army displacement. Goes up against just PD. We've got Shade Beasts on either flank, very fast. I don't know, I doubt Xibalba has Darkness yet, but if you could put up something even like Twilight or Nightfall or Darkness, some way to start trying to activate the dark power in these Shade Beasts, they'll get a lot better. Additionally, Sacred Scorpions in the center, they have 17 protection. Xibalba's Bless is pretty nasty. We've got a bunch of Ocelotls, a bunch of Sun Guides, a large mage contingent with a lot of Blood Slaves. Now, I suppose this is a good time to talk about a little bit of information I found out from the game chat. So it turns out the reason why Lanka wasn't reacting to the Xibalba buildup on the border was he thought he had a nap with Xibalba. It seems like a misreading of, so they had agreed to a border, but it didn't seem like anything was ever formalized. So just a little bit of a misplay, but all right, the player's been extremely busy recently, so it's not shocking. All right, but hopefully he's able to get his main army home with its profit, and maybe we can catch maybe like a reprisal where he tries to deal some damage to Xibalba. All right, but yeah, that's going to go ahead and move on to the Lanka capital. Nothing really to kill that or get killed there. Just some monkeys. In Gray Mercs, another kind of heavy raiding contingent. Do we have thugs? We have a delicate cherry blossom casting Divine Blessing. Going up against 1 PD. Again, this would kill a Long Dead Massic raiding party, but again, I'm concerned that these parties are going to run into Melkarts soon. Especially without thugs to support them. Really hoping I see some, at least GSS thugs out of Sauromatia soon, but we'll see. Alright, next up, 4 Hinnom attacks, including trying to move on to Sauromatia's capital. We've got that line of rough fights. The Sayer are off raiding, or line of rough fights, and then we've got a couple of Melkarts, and we've got this Akka. Now, a lot of these guys aren't going to get blessed. Sauromatia could certainly kill a fair number of Rephites with a major commitment, but he's going to struggle to kill the blessed ones. This might be enough of PD. He might have gotten 1, but the rest of this probably isn't going to get any. Let's see the kind of blessed coverage he got really quick. Let's see. No, yes. 1 for 3, 2 for 4. I think that's 3, 4. I'm blessed. 5. Probably not clicking this quite right. It seems like at least half. Oh, it's a whole bunch towards the end of the list here. Or maybe 2/3 didn't get blessed. Ideally, the Prophet gets in here. If you can get the Prophet to be a Melkart as well. I do think Sauromatia could kill a fair number of these in a straight fight. And then it might start isolating things. So far we haven't seen any answers to Melkarts. So hopefully we see something soon. Because he still has a couple of unsieged forts. Alright, now Hinnom's also attacking or raiding into Lanka, so he's recovering lost ground. Now, because of the game chat, he's also aware that Xibalba's attacked Lanka now. So that can be a downside to bringing up stuff about like nap breaks and whatnot in the game chat. Is a player who might not be aware of something might become aware of something if you put it up there. So I'm a little bit worried it might have emboldened Hinnom, but Hinnom and Xibalba might also be communicating. Alright, now in World Pillar, oh, did we? I think we just watched that. Yeah. in Amiradon, we've got a small group of unblessed Rephites. Never enough priests to go around in Hinnom land. Alright, but nevertheless, doesn't matter. And then Shepherd's Haven. Does Xibalba make an effort to cut the income? And I have a feeling that he hasn't yet. If Lanka's able to trace income through his lake, he might still be able to start pulling this back. We'll have to check it out. And then we have 2 independent attacks against Hinnom. Oh, so we have some peasants. They're going to have a bad time. Then in Flemistan, we have a barbarian attack. It's going to go ahead and kill the 1 PD. We get some, and cool, we get a bunch of new trade income. For all those people that can totally make it to Omniscience land. Alright. So, the zoo menagerie is still emptying out a little bit. I think some of this is holding back for blood hunting, but most of the menagerie is now in Lanka. He's put both forts under siege, so he has indeed cut off income. He doesn't need to come down to Star Peaks, like I was pointing out in previous episodes. So he's on both forts, so Lanka's income is toast. That said, Lanka doesn't have a lot of troops that cost upkeep that aren't sacred, so he's not going to face a lot of desertion. But this fort is at least cracked, so he's gonna have to take on this army, somehow have enough stuff to fight it, and then re-siege his capital. I just don't see that happening. So I do think our poor Kidzin is getting knocked out here. All from a simple misunderstanding, but it's been emblematic of his luck in this game. Nevertheless, I do think he'll give a good go of it. Now, I forget if his pretender's stuck inside of Lanka, his bless might get turned off. And that might make the army even more ineffective. Because he does, it is a big incarnate bless. So it's quickness, blood surge, awe 3. Yeah, so maybe he can find some way to rally around it. I'm not sure. I have my doubts. But it's gonna have to be a hell of a hold. And then, especially against this bless, with Enchanted Blood, Blood Vengeance, Righteous Wrath, Larger, and Stormflight. This is a very, very big, very expensive bless, and it should do well in the late game with Stormflight. So I do think people should be wary of Xibalba getting bigger. I am curious. The Hellherdings are back in Helheim. So it looks like I'm not going to get the imminent elfing I was hoping for. Also, we haven't seen the Mekone Giants move out either. So we might not get to see that war with Tianchi after all. It's certainly, I believe it's been well over 3 turns now. Fomoria is building up a large fleet of Draconians, trying to bulk out his numbers. Not sure what he's planning on. Tianchi is still relying on a large force of mercenaries to siege down this fort. He has finally cracked it, so he'll try to assault that soon. That'll be a new fort for him. That'll put him at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forts, I think. So very much a growing collection of forts. Marverni, I would like to see more active. We've got a number of players that haven't fought any wars yet, and I think we're well past turn 30. I don't know why this isn't showing the turn right now. But Mekone hasn't fought a war. TNC hasn't really fought a war. They've done some skirmishing. Fomoria hasn't fought a war yet. Marverni hasn't fought a war yet. Berytos hasn't fought a war yet. And Helheim has fended off a potential 2v1, but they haven't initiated an elfing yet. And they also had some stuff patrolled out a couple of times. So that is the question. We do have one very hot war raging right now. Marverni could be trying to move in on Lanka but I doubt he has the scout coverage to know what's really going on there. Hinnom has the potential to gain a lot of land out of this, but I think their economy has been very damaged. But hard to complain if you end up with, as a 2 cap, when you got 2v1'd with potentially gaining maybe all of this, maybe some of the stuff down here. So Hinnom could definitely end up getting pretty large here. Yeah, if Lanka's Bless goes offline, I think he's toast. Which is unfortunate, because we did name the game after him, but that is how curses like that work. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the Madden curse, but for a long time, there's a lot of game covers where the athlete on the game cover ended up doing extremely poorly in the year where he was on the cover, or shortly thereafter. They would often get injured. So I think Kidzin will bounce back really strong in the next game. I'm not really concerned about that. He's an extremely good player, has a lot of wins on his channel. So, but that does explain why he felt safe going after Hinnom. He thought he had a nap here, but he didn't actually. So, miscommunication. And then there's Berytos and they're both continuing to scale. They're the 2 scales powerhouses in this game, as far as I'm concerned, and they've been more or less left alone to continue scaling. So they're going to start becoming exceptionally difficult to kill and very strong as more and more research targets come online and as they get more and more mages. So this was another case where I think, I mean, these Hinnom scales aren't bad, but it was still a fairly significant Hinnom bless, but 2 people with fairly heavy blesses and then another one with a fairly heavy bless, all fighting each other while scales nations are scaling away in the background. So a little bit interesting in terms of the graphs this turn, because it was a somewhat quiet turn compared to the last couple. We do have the fall off in territory for Lanka. And then we've got a sharp increase for Hinnom. Sauromatia continued their decline, so they're now tied with Marverni for smallest. And and Berytos are still up there in the top 3, scaling away. For forts, we've got Berytos, Fomoria, TNC. For income, we've got and Berytos still way out in front. Gem income is followed by Helheim and TNC. Maybe we could go take a look at sites in those 3 in just a second. Helheim, TNC. All right. For blood income, Berytos, Lanka, Xibalba, and Hinnom. Research is Berytos, Tianchi, Marverni. Marverni with excellent research. Hopefully they're hitting some really good goals for not taking on an earlier first war. And then we've got Helheim and Fomoria. Dominion is Hinnom, Marverni, Tianchi, Helheim, and Army size, we've got Berytos way out in front, followed by and Xibalba, followed by Tianchi, and then all the other nations very much smaller. 6, 7, 8. So all these other nations have a military. Maybe a little bit more than a third the size of Berytos's military, just in terms of size points. But the quality in Berytos's army is rapidly improving, as we see an ever-growing number of shed. We've got a large number of draconians who can provide raiding pressure and crack forts. The elite soldiers are just basic human infantry, but he has a lot of them. So, yeah, really interesting to see what folks will do. Okay, we were going to look at sites. So I think Gem Income was Helheim Tianchi. All right, so let's see if there's any new sites in Earthblood Seepage. Just kind of poking around. Cave of Ghouls is pretty interesting. You can summon ghouls and stash them in a fort. Helps improve siege defense. Doesn't have great death access, but they do have a couple of these swamps, so you could take one of these Bone Raiders over there to do that. He might not want to. He might not view that as a good use of their time, though. Oh, that's a lot of gems. A lot of earth and nature, too, which really likes. Okay, so that's Nothing crazy. I think Helheim was the next one. Rune of Images. So excellent death and glamour coverage in the site searching. Through tower. Found a well of pestilence. Thunderstones. That's where the fort came from. All right, and then I think the last one we were going to check was Tianchi. Gorge of Echoes. I think that's just one glamour. Yeah. That's 2. It's a pretty good province. Yeah, nothing crazy new popping up, at least that we've seen. So, but yeah, Hinnom's recovering quite nicely. He's just got to free his capital. This profit really needs to come with, but it might not matter if his bless gets turned off. Well, it might matter a little bit, because I think, yeah, Blood Surge, I think, would still be active. Is Quickness somehow not incarnate? I'm pretty sure that's incarnate. I don't know why it's labeled not incarnate. But, I mean, even Blood Surge is nice. So he should bring this profit along. Unless he's trying to get it killed. Which I don't know, maybe he is. Doesn't seem like the right time for that. All right, so I think that's it for this one. Ooh, what's this? Bone door. Yeah, so I think that's it for this one. So I will go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.